Every realtor hears objections as part of the sales process. They happen all the time, but the realtor who knows how to handle objections will usually win the day and save the deal. Real estate educator Josh Cadillac has some practical tips and shares them with you right now.
You're listening to The Royal Palmcast, the show about all things real estate. From the production studios of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association in Fort Myers, Florida, here's your host, Jim Sanville.
Welcome to the Royal Palmcast. I am indeed Jim Sanville here in the studios of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association in beautiful, sunny Fort Myers, Florida, here with Jerry Johnson at the board. Jerry,
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, Jim. Yeah, it's beautiful and sunny.
It is.
Again.
It is. It's almost boring, huh? I'll take
Without
it.
a doubt.
Yeah, I'm from up north.
Actually, I'm going to go outside right now because it's so beautiful outside.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful living here. And we have a guest today in the studio who I'll introduce in just a moment, who also lives in South Florida on the East Coast over toward Miami. And we are here in Fort Myers, and he came all the way here to see us today. We really appreciate it. His name is Josh Cadillac. Welcome, Josh.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Now, Josh is very well known in the realtor community, the real estate professional community throughout Florida and beyond. He's an educator, a real estate educator who teaches a lot of stuff. You got a lot of classes. Before you came into the studio today, Josh, we had discussed what we might talk about, given that you are an expert in so many areas. One of the things we settled on, and I think this is going to be very good, we're going to talk about objections. Any objections?
I have no objections to your discussing objections, sir.
I hope I did that right.
It was completely unobjectionable.
Now, Josh, where do we want to begin? Tell me about, now you teach the class about objections. Where do you start? What are the most important things to know?
I think I'll start with a story just to illustrate, kind of what we're talking about. Because this happened to me the other day. And it was not too long ago. I walked into, I kind of have a little bit of a reputation in the brokerage that I work for that if there's a problem, you bring in Josh and he'll make it better. I don't know that I even like having this reputation because I feel like I have to perform now all the time. But an agent called me up and they had a commercial deal. And so I went to CCIM. I have my CCIM. I know commercial. I've done a couple of commercial deals, but it's not my primary business. But I said, sure, I can help you. What's the situation? She says, I have these two people. They want to sell 2 schools. They have like a daycare school, after school program thing. So it's real estate and a business transaction. I said, okay. So she's talked to them. I don't even know who these people are. Never met them. No conversation. I'm walking in, I think, to get the paperwork signed. That's, she just needs somebody to close it. Mm-hmm. Okay, no problem. So she's there already meeting with them. I walk in the room. Now, I don't know who these people are. Mother, I would say she's maybe in her late 60s, early 70s. And a son, I'd say he is in his 30s, maybe early 40s. Mm-hmm. He looks at me and he says, if you can't give me an open listing, get the hell out. No hello. That was what he said. I got news for you. That's an objection. And most agents are walking out the door with their tail between their legs. And it's not there's anything special with me. I mean, I've heard a lot of objections. So I had a response. I was teaching the class on objections. And so this is one of the objections, open listing. I had a kind of a smarty pants retort for it because I had a sense just walking in the room and seeing this guy that he needed pushback. He was a little bit of a bully. So again, how to gauge your objection and who the objector is and what the purpose of the objection is. I said to him, okay, open listing. How do you feel about open marriages? And you know what? He was pretty sharp. He was on his toes. He said, I feel pretty good about them. I said, well, let me ask you a question. How much loyalty do you expect from your partner in an open marriage? He got a smile on his face and he said, sit down. I earned my seat at the table. And really overcoming objections is about earning your seat at the table. We talked about it in the last podcast, the idea of credibility, right? And earning the 3 things that you need: rapport, credibility, and trust. Objections are a tremendous way. If you look at them as an opportunity, they're a tremendous opportunity to earn those 3 things. Because most agents want to handle an objection and they're like, whew, I got by. They haven't hung up the phone on me yet, right? As opposed to, wait a second, maybe I could score some positive points. It's kind of like playing tennis, just getting the ball back over the net versus trying to make a shot that's going to score, right? So we need to look at objections as a way to actually go from being on defense to being on offense, to put them on defense a little bit, to answer it in such a way that they think differently about us. And so the idea of having a system to take and handle objections is what we talk about a lot in the class. The idea of, hey, look, an objection comes in and I got my butt kicked. I got my lunch handed to me. I lost a call. Okay, what do most agents do? Pick up the phone, they dial somebody else, and they keep going. My suggestion is write down what went wrong. What was the objection that got you? Now that you have time to think about it, what could you have said? I had one the other day, a brand new agent. This is why I love this class so much, because I hear responses to objections that I'm telling you, sometimes they're just amazing.
Really?
Brand new agent. And English is even her first language. And I mean, this was to me, this was just a microphone drop situation. The objection was, it's not the right time for us to buy a house right now. And she said, you know what? It's almost never the right time to have a baby either. But sometimes the best blessings come when it's not the right time. I was like, you just have to you have to shut up after that. There's nothing else to say. Done.
Just leave the pen on the contract. And
game, set, match.
Yeah.
Just turn the paperwork around and slide in the pen. Exactly. And so how to take and have a system where you're collecting these over time. I had one the other day. Again, I give you the stories just so that you can see it still happens. No matter how long, no matter how much credibility or respect you have in the industry, not everybody knows you. Not everybody knows. So like an objection that I don't get anymore is one on, hey, how much commission will you take to take my listing? You know, like, what's the discount you're going to give me, right? So this person called me. Now, it's a customer that I referred out to another agent because I don't work with buyers anymore. I only work on listings now. I don't have the time to work to show buyers properties on a consistent basis. So I refer my buyers out. The agent that took care of them is no longer in the industry. So I've always followed up with this customer just to check in on them 3-4 times a year, whatever. So now he's thinking about selling. And the first question he asked me is, what are you going to give me in the commission? What kind of a discount are you going to give me in the commission? And so it caught me off guard. It really like set me back because I haven't heard this one. And I'm sitting here saying, I know the answer to this. Like I know what to say. And so it took me a second to get back, remember who this person was, the kind of relationship I had. Because it was one of 50 phone calls I was making that day. So I wasn't like on my toes. And then I remembered, like, okay, well, here's the way I'm going to say, well, you know what? Let me tell you, like, it's okay whether you work with me or not. But if I'm going to tell you one litmus test to use with an agent, any agent that will cut their commission, you should immediately scratch their name off your list. Because if they don't even value what they do enough to fight for what they do, what do you think they're going to do when it's time to represent you and get you top dollar for their house?
Interesting point.
And so, and then I immediately have to launch into credibility building, letting them know that I know the market better than the average agent out there. And that's just simply, and we were just talking about it on the break actually a little bit ago, the idea of this great real estate conversation. Every agent needs to have in their back pocket a great conversation about their market, what's going on in their market and where it is, and not about what the community festival is going to be about or anything like that. Talk to me about supply and demand. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? What's creating it? What are the forces working on it? Because here's the one thing I can guarantee agents, especially agents trying to get listings. If you're talking about that, you're the only agent that customer, that seller, that potential seller is going to interview that's talking about that. All the other agents, you know what they're talking about? Let me show you my listing book. Let me show you my letters of recommendation. One of the things I say in the class is, do you like going on a date with someone that all they do is brag about themselves? How does that feel? Maybe they feel good about themselves, that all they're doing is talking about themselves, but how do you feel? Again, you're making eye contact with the maitre d' to try to get you out of there.
Especially when they're comparing your date to their previous boyfriends and girlfriends.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you about the last customer. What are our listing presentations like except the bragging session?
Yeah.
As opposed to talking to the customer about something that they're interested in. So what's something that you would think that somebody's getting ready to put the property in the market would be interested in? How about the market? How about like a simple, easy, like, if I can talk about this thing that they're getting ready to do better than somebody else, they're going to feel more comfortable with me being a person that knows it better than somebody else. How do you think that makes them feel? Again, this is one of the big notes that I have. We don't understand others. We don't understand the customer and their motivation, what they're looking for from us. Customers' primary motivation, if you look at all the NAR studies, they're all fear-based. The customer is afraid. They're afraid of negotiation. They're afraid of not getting enough of their house. They're afraid of how the house is going to be advertised. They're afraid of all these things, and they're hiring us to make the fear go away. We're supposed to be the expert. We're supposed to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Are we filling those shoes, or are we trying to take and show them what we feel like they should want versus what they actually want? They're the customer. Figure out what it is that they want. Figure out how you can give it better than somebody else, and you earn the customer. Gotcha.
Now, what are some of the most common objections realtors tend to hear from either the buyer or seller? How do you get around them?
Sure. All right. So one that we just talked about was commission, right? And I will never forget this. One of my favorite moments in any class that I've ever had. I was co-teaching this class with a broker at a very big operation in Miami. He's got a huge brokerage there, and so he was teaching it with me because he had heard some stuff that I had, and I love your input. And so he said, I've got a lot of new agents here. I've heard you guys say no when it comes time to cutting commission. And you say something like, no. He said, look, a girl tells me no like that. I mean, that's just a yes waiting to happen. That's what he said. This is not me. And so, I mean, I wish I was that smart. And so he goes to somebody in the front row and he says to me, excuse me, sir, would you stand up for a second? He said, yes. He said, sir, could I grab your butt? And the guy says, no. He said, that's the no you want. And so a lot of it, guys, is not what we say. That's what the problem that there is with scripts. All right? Scripts is words. It's how you say what you say that makes the difference, right? And so it's one of the reasons why, I mean, if you're brand spanking new, maybe the script is going to take and help you make sure you're hitting all the bullet points you need to. But you need to get away from that as quickly as you can and go with something that's organic to you.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. I mean, I don't know, you gentlemen have ever known a guy that was like a player that could go up and say things to whoever they wanted to and get away with it. Like, forget punched, forget slapped. I would get punched if I said some of the stuff that this guy says, right?
I think we all know that.
We all know that guy, right?
Yeah.
We've all met that guy. And so if that's the case, we've got to figure that's the same case when it comes to dealing with customers. We have to find the things that we can get away with saying that maybe other people can't, because that's truly organic to us. It's who we are. If I tell a customer, hey, look, you want to go with somebody else? Go ahead. It's your loss. I believe that to the center of my soul, right? And so they're going to sense that I believe that. Well, wait a second, Josh. I didn't mean to, It's part of the thing. The other one, if I'm going to take and give a big one, and again, I know this is...
Hey, let's save that one for after the break, if you don't mind, Josh. We do have to take a quick break in here from some of our sponsors.
Oh, they definitely should stay tuned now.
Yeah, this is going to be good stuff. I can't wait to get back from this break. Can you make the break more fast, Jerry?
I'm going to work on it.
All right, make it quick. All right. See you in just a minute. Thanks, folks.
This is Ned Hale. You're listening to the Royal Palmcast.
Hi, I'm Kim Swanson. You're listening to the Royal Palmcast.
I'm Ray Saraceno, and you're listening to the Royal Palmcast.
Southwest Florida is famous for its beautiful beaches and waterways. The Realtor Political Action Committee fights to protect those pieces of paradise. The environment is crucial to your business and the future of Southwest Florida as a whole. Investing as little as $20 in RPAC helps protect our home and promotes clean waterways and clean beaches. Protect our environment by investing in RPAC today. For more information or to invest, contact Kevin Besser, Director of Public Policy at kevin@rpcra.org.
Education, you need it, we've got it. I'm Angela Foster, Director of Education at Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association. If you're a realtor in Southwest Florida, the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association has the classes, courses, workshops, and webinars you need to stay at the top of your game and keep your license current. Looking to build your continuing education hours? We offer core law and code of ethics classes to fulfill your CE requirement, along with many other courses to fulfill your requirements for specialty credits. Want to learn the ins and outs of the specific market you serve? Our A Series provides an in-depth look at Cape Coral and Fort Myers with all the right experts to fill you in. Our Contract Series is a 5-session course on listing agreements, FAR contracts, timelines, and more. It doesn't end there. Classes like how to stay out of real estate jail, negotiating skills, listing tips, conflict resolution, and many more keep realtors in Lee County up to speed with the latest information. Many of our classes are free to members and some are open to non-members. If you're a real estate professional who's interested in working in the Southwest Florida market, we've got you covered. For more information, visit our website at rpcra.org or email education@rpcra.org.
Welcome back to the Royal Palmcast. I'm Jim Sanville along with Jerry Johnson.
Hello.
And our guest, Josh Cadillac. And we're talking about objections today. Josh is an expert in that field. He knows how to overcome them, how to avoid saying things that will be easily objected to. Teaches a class here in the state of Florida and elsewhere about this very topic. Before we jump back into our conversation, Josh, I want to ask you, is there one word or phrase that you should never use to overcome an objection?
You never want to tell necessarily the person that they're wrong unless you have it in spades. That's a very, especially considering how people's sensitivity level, people are more narcissistic than they've ever been. It's another class that I teach on understanding customers where we talk about just how narcissistic people are becoming. So the younger your crowd is, the more they've been told that they're wonderful and special just the way they are. And if there's any problems in the universe, it's because of somebody else. And so figuring out how to do that, it's almost to the point where it would be like dealing with a Far East culture where you have to allow them to save face. You have to give them almost an out because they don't like being called out in person. Maybe online, they're okay with, they post their thought and then they leave and never have to look at it again. They'll drop the hand grenades, they'll drop the bombs, but they don't have to deal with the consequences. But people are more isolated than they've ever been. And as I said, they're more narcissistic. And so they have fewer interactions with people. People are more lonely than they've ever been, actually, which is another huge thing that I talk about as far as being a plus value that agents can bring to the table, understanding their customers are more lonely than they've ever been. Their customers are more inundated with emails than they've ever been. So pick up the phone and call your customers. It's a quick, easy way to just be different than all the other agents out there and everybody else in their life. I call my customers 3 or 4 times a year, all of them. From years back, doesn't matter.
Whether you have some deal going or not.
I have nothing going with them, doesn't matter. I call them 3 or 4 times a year. You know how many times they say to me, "You call me more than my children do."
I don't doubt it,
you do hear
now.
that.
I do hear that.
You hear that. Wow.
And so I realize that I'm filling another role for them. But then at the same time, I'm a person that has transitioned from just being that real estate agent, that a person who actually cares enough about them to call them. To just reach out.
A voice call is so much more effective than just texting and emailing.
If you can get people to answer their phone.
That's true too.
Well, look at this though. I mean, realize this. Realize how many fewer phone calls we actually get than we used to. We used to have a home phone and it used to ring all the time, right? And I mean, we have the cell phone. We got rid of the home phone. And now we just get bombarded by emails or robocalls. But who's actually call? I mean, when was the last time you think about it? When was the last time somebody called you up and said, "Hey, you just popped in my head. I was thinking about you. How you been?" That's what my call is. It's not, "Hey, does anybody need any real estate in your life?"
I tend to schedule a phone call. Even my children, Miranda, will you have time for a phone call later this afternoon? What time is good for you? As opposed to just calling.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you I'm a nice enough person to actually remember all these people.
Yeah.
I have a CRM and I go through them and I reschedule them and whatever, but I care enough about them to put that system in place.
Susie got braces.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's a thing. And so I know it's not specifically what necessarily an answer to the question you asked, but I would say that, avoid calling people out as directly and maybe as you might want to, like, "You're dead wrong, no," is probably not the way to go. Well, look, some people say that, but here's all the data. A good one that I get all the time actually is, "We're in another bubble." Right? How do you be an objection that I hear all the time? I don't want to buy it. We're in another bubble. Right? So what I like to normally do is say, "You know what? That's fantastic." Because, everything, all the data and all the research I've done says that we are not in another bubble. And so I have been very bullish on real estate for a long time now. And I'm looking for some counterpoint to help temper how I feel about real estate right now. Please show me the data you're looking at that's making you think that we're in another bubble. As opposed to saying, "You're out of your freaking mind. I've looked at all the data and we're not in a bubble," right?
Yeah.
I make it a positive. Now, it turns out when they tell you that, well, my Uncle Louie with the tinfoil hat told me we're in another bubble, so, I just assume we're in another bubble. And so maybe going with a positive approach One of the things I learned in a sales class a long time ago was just go with that positive fantastic.
Frame things positively.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Wonderful. And the other question that going back to the thing that was on before was the idea of bullies. Female agents deal with this a bit more than guys do, but we see it on both sides. Because the fellow that I told you about, 100% that was a bully. He was going to throw his weight around and see how you responded. With bullies, guys, and I know this is very counter to what you hear from all of the accredited sources out there. You're never going to hear this in a class, except maybe one of mine. Sometimes the best thing to do with a bully is punch him one right in the middle of the face as hard as you can. Rhetorically, not physically punch him, but you got to take and you got to put him on his heels. And so it's exactly with that initial one that we talked about with the gentleman with the open listing, I had to put him on his heels. I had to let him know, hey, you maybe push everybody else around, you're not going to push me around. And then when that actual listing presentation was over, he one more time came back at me and said, well, why should I even bother working with you? And actually in the conversation, I had done a whole bunch of math for him. I figured out he had a bunch of other real estate holdings, how he could make a bunch more money. And I had gotten my financial calculator out. I actually showed him how borrowing money was going to help him, all this stuff. And so again, I recognized it as one more bully play. I took and I spun my cell phone that I had my camera on across the table to him with the math right there on the cell phone. I said, because I'm the only guy you're going to bring in here that's going to do the math right in front of you. That's why. You can't replace me.
Wow.
But again, I would never do that with a normal customer. I'm not that high pressure sales guy. But you need to take and recognize that our job is to give the particular customer what they need. This guy needed to feel like I was not a lightweight. And so I had to give that to him.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to overcoming an objection, it's not just what you say, but how you say what you say and who you're talking to. What is it they need to hear? How was the objection delivered? Mm-hmm. Is it, like, I'm never buying, or I'm not buying? Well, it's kind of the same objection, but it's very different. Mm-hmm. Well, one customer is uncertain, one customer is belligerent. Well, a belligerent customer, maybe that's a bully situation. We have to take and maybe suss that out a little bit more to see where they're coming from, to figure out how to get past the defense. Mm-hmm. The best example I can give you is this. Any of you guys ever try to go talk to someone maybe at a bar or something like that, and you get the no, the immediate, like, no, I got a boyfriend, I'm whatever. Is that really a reflection on you? It's not.
Right.
It's a reflection on that person's life. That person is probably getting approached often. They can't talk to everybody. Let me ask you a question. Are the customers getting approached all the time by other agents? Sure they are. So they have a built-in no ready for us. Our job is to handle the objection, to get by the no, to even get considered. And that's important to keep in mind, because getting knocked out by these objections is really hard on our personal morale. You go up, you try talking to 10 different people, and you get no, 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 no. Well, now you start thinking, well, gee, is my breath bad? Like, what's wrong with me? Right? And it's not really a reflection on you. It's a reflection on how they're being marketed to.
Gotcha. Josh, I don't want to miss the point you were about to make before the break. And I don't even recall what it was, I'll be honest with you.
It was the point on bullies, on being bullies.
Okay, so we've covered
that. We did.
Yeah,
and when it comes to objections, I don't feel right if we didn't talk about that, just because, as I said, female agents by male customers tend to have that happen to them a lot.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of customers like, how do I handle this guy? And it's a matter of owning, and one of the ways I like to say it is owning the real estate that you're on. Own the ground you stand on. You are good at what you do. You know what you're doing, and they're hiring you for a reason, because they don't know it as well as you do. Mm-hmm. So at this moment, at this time, you are the expert in the room. Don't be afraid to own that real estate.
What other kinds of things do you cover in your class on objections?
Well, the cool thing with the objections class is the first half of the class we talk about where objections come from, the idea of that customers are just simply reacting to being oversold to. But the second half of the class is all objections that put a slide up with an objection on, break everybody up into groups, tell me how you'd handle it. And in a live class, I walk up, I stick a microphone in their face, and I say, okay, how would you handle it?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were doing the role play kind of thing, so that would be a...
Well, absolutely. And, sometimes agents want to push back, and, why are you doing this? Why are you putting me on the spot? Because when I get an objection, I'm put in the spot.
Now, what kind of objections cause the agents to be tongue-tied most often?
I'm not ready to buy. The thing that I see is most agents are willing to defer to the technology. Oh, well, I'll put you an automatic email and then I'll check back. A good example would be, we're not ready to buy yet. Well, that's okay. That's fantastic. I work with people that aren't ready to buy all the time. And the thing is, you may find out that you do all this work to get ready to buy, and because we haven't actually checked, you may be missing other things that you need to be doing right now that can make you able to buy. So 6 months from now, you think you're ready to buy, and in reality, when we go look, then you're not. So why don't we get involved right now and make sure, whether you use me or not, it's okay. Look, my job is to just help you be the best possible buyer you can be. All right. If you choose to work with me after that fact, cool. If not, that's okay too. Right. Just let me take a look and see if we can get you more prepared to be the best possible buyer you can, because the better you are as a buyer, the less you'll have to pay for the property. Because this is another thing that I talk about with agents. Imagine you have a cash deal that comes in for $150 on a property, and you have a finance deal for $150 on the property. Which is the better deal? Well, almost always the cash deal, right? Well, what if the finance deal is $151, $152, $155? At some point, the finance deal now starts to look better, right? It's the same thing with a pre-qualified versus a pre-approved buyer. If I get a $150 a pre-approved buyer versus a $150 pre-qualified buyer, which is the better offer?
Pre-qualified.
Pre-approved.
Yeah.
That means that pre-qualified buyer literally has to spend more money to be just as good as my pre-approved buyer. Now tying that back in for the customer to understand, explanations like that are the other place that agents drop the ball. I want you to be the best buyer you can be. No. I don't want you to spend one nickel more for this property than you absolutely have to. So I want you to be the best possible buyer you can be going in, because if you are, you'll pay less than the other guy will have to. The other guy's going to have to pay more just to be just as good as you, because I'm going to get you to be that good.
Yeah.
And so but if you break apart what I just said there were a lot of pieces to that. I was working on trust with that answer, because I want you to be the best buyer you can be. And I'm taking joy in the fact that you're better than the other guy's buyer. How does that make you feel as a customer? Well, I'm not across the table from you. Now I'm on the other side of the table with you. Now I got my arm around you, and I'm rubbing your shoulder. I'm getting you ready for the fight. I'm excited, right? And so it changes from realtors being just a half a step above a used car salesman and slightly below attorneys in people's perception, because that's what they think. The default is that's who we are. To being somebody that, wait a second, this person, I like this guy. Have my head examined. I like this guy. I don't know why. He really knows what he's talking about. And man, he is all in for me. If you had a stockbroker like that, would you be shopping around your stockbrokerage business?
Right.
No, you'd never change, right? That's what we're looking for, that customer for life that goes nowhere.
Wow.
And so every objection isn't just gotten by. I'm trying to return serve, and I'm trying to take and score on it. And even the way that I handled that last objection would be an example of trying to score on that. I'm trying to get brownie points with that customer to let them know, hey, it's not just about getting you pre-approved. It's not just about me getting in your life. I want you to save money, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but I'm not going to let you leave here today, Josh, without giving me one last kernel of the most important thing you need to know about objections.
I think that circling back to that idea that it's not about you. The no, if you're getting no's, it's not necessarily about you. Now, it could be an indication that you need to work on how you handle those objections, but it's not personal. Those early no's, when you pick up the phone and you're making your cold calls or whatever, that has nothing to do with you. All right? It's just the same no that the beautiful girl at the bar gives, the first 85 guys that talk to her.
But from your experience, most of the agents, and newer ones particularly, they don't get that it's not about them?
No, because it's hard to get rejected like that over and over and over again and not take it personally. I mean, in addition, the person doesn't have necessarily the skill set to deal with the objections going in. So maybe they're working with scripts, they don't have very organic responses, and now they're getting told no over and over again. It's one of the big reasons we see such an attrition rate in our industry, is because getting over those early humps is just hard. So if I was going to take and give you one big kernel, it's not about you. It's a built-in no. An agent with 50 years experience is going to get the same no you do. And so it's about getting past that no to be considered. That's the place that we're going to. Same thing with the girl at the bar. I want to get past that no so she even gets a chance to look at me, because she's not even looking at me. She's just saying no, right? Let me get past that no. And the other thing that I would say is, the other big one is, don't be afraid to be funny. If you can get him to laugh, the reason why I got to sit at the table with the guy at the very beginning that we talked about, I made him smile and laugh. I had him.
Yeah.
He had the wall up. I broke the wall down. So I got a chance to sit at the table.
Good stuff, Josh. Hey, Josh, there is so much to learn from you, and there's not enough time in our podcast schedule to put everything out here. But where can people reach you if they want to learn about where your classes are and how they can quiz you about any of the topics we've discussed?
Sure. acecloser.com, www.acecloser.com. That's where all my AC courses can be found on my course schedule. If you want to reach me personally, Josh at joshcadillac.com, spelled just like the car. And Instagram, Josh D. Cadillac. That's the other place you can find me.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for being here today, Josh.
My pleasure.
All right. Jerry, thank you for being here today, too, running the board.
You're welcome, Jim.
Doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank Beata Jones. Beata is our CEO, and she is extremely supportive of the Royal Palmcast and our other podcast, which is called Realtor Riff Rap with Nick Bagelis. Nick also co-hosts Realtor's Corner on YouTube with Joanna Rowell. Once again, if you wanted to reach out to us, you can do so by sending an email to shows@rpcra.org. And again, I'm Jim Sanville. I want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Royal Palmcast. Be sure to listen again each week. Share and subscribe on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. And be sure to check out our sister podcast, Realtor Riff Rap, and our video news show, Realtor's Corner, which can be found on the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association Facebook page and YouTube channel. For information about sponsorship opportunities for this and other RPCRA productions, email us at shows@rpcra.org. This has been a production of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association.